Hello, everyone. Welcome to Doodles episode 11. I'm your host, Sapna Malhotra. Some of my fondest memories growing up were from my sports class in school or the PE class. I still remember how eagerly we used to wait for Sir to come in. We would line up and then we would go onto the field. He would make us do all the physical training, the warm ups. And then came that moment when he would say, he would call a few of us out and he would say, okay, go to the sports room and get the volleyball, the basketballs, and the badminton rackets. And the thrill, the excitement, and the force with which we ran to get those volleyballs and basketballs, I can still feel that rush in my bones today. And then came that moment of disappointment when the bell rang and we knew it was time to go back into the classrooms. I think all of us as kids remember that, right? And we always felt that the sports period or the PE class was always shorter than the other subjects, whereas it never was. They were all 40 minutes. It was just that we were so engrossed, so focused in our game, in our sport, that we never realized how those 40 minutes went. I think sports is just a way of life. It's like life on a mini scale for children when they're growing up. There are so many teachable moments from sport. Every day you work a little harder, and then you reach from one point to the other. It's just like what they call the Mamba mentality, right? And you never give up. If you persevere, you will come out the best version of yourself. It's a lot of hard work, but when you're enjoying it, I think you never mind putting in that hard work. Today on Desk Doodles, we have someone who has invested 34 years of his life into sports, health, and fitness. He is the head of Beyond Academics and Sports at Inventure Academy, Bangalore. He is a movement specialist. I think I'm going to leave the rest for my guests to come on and share with us. Welcome to Desk Doodles, Kishen Whabi. Hello, Kishen.
Hi, Sapna. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun talking about sports, which is in your blood. And I think I have two mambas in the house, so I'm pretty excited about talking about it.
Yeah, I'm impressed that you're wearing a Los Angeles
Oh yes,
Lakers jersey.
I
I'm
think
sure
that's
that's Megan's.
absolutely Megan and Mehul. Both of them have put it in our bloodstream as well. You know, the basketball. So anyway, coming back to you, Kishan, tell us a little bit how you started this journey.
I actually wanted to become an Air Force pilot when I was in school, and
Okay.
I grew up in Pune, and I was in a school called, and I was always into sport. I mean, I was probably on every school team that the school had. But I always wanted to fly a fighter plane. Pune has an Air Force base called Loegaon,
Yes.
and I had a friend's dad who was a squadron leader there. In grade 4 on a first field trip, he made me sit in this aircraft. It's outdated now. It's called a NAT, a
Okay.
small aircraft. So he made me sit with him in that aircraft, and that was the day I said, I definitely. And that was one dream I had through my school year. And then, as I grew up, sport became a huge part of my upbringing. And then, when I was in grade 10, I actually tore my knee doing a high jump. And then I realized that I would actually fail the NBA entrance test because my knee would just pop out.
Right.
At that time, knee surgery was not as good as it is now.
Yeah.
Uh, I am pretty old, so I'm talking
No.
about I'm talking about decades back. But I had a lot of family in the U.S. So one of my uncles, who's a doc, said, don't touch it, let it heal.
Yeah.
So that dream went out, and then when I was 18, I was thinking, what do I do with my life now? And I said, okay, I love sport, and I said, let's try to see what I could do in sport. So I looked at physical education, uh, some of the stuff, and I realized in our country we were in the dinosaur ages at that time. I mean, I know I'm on air, but we are still in the dinosaur ages.
Yes, yes.
Different topic, right? But from there, I decided, to take a little help from my family abroad, and I got my first certification in 1991 from the International Sports Sciences Association as a personal trainer. So I'd already got my first job about 4 years back before that,
Right,
and it's been 34 years. I now am a movement specialist.
right,
I'm what is known as performance enhancement specialist from the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I deal with everything to do with human movement.
right.
And about 12 years back, we came to Bangalore, my wife and me, about 20 years now. Yeah, next year will be 20 years.
Wow.
And during that journey, I met a very, very interesting lady called Lorraine Fazal. You know her.
Absolutely
uh,
amazing. Yes.
right. Oh, she's an amazing lady. And, she being a sports person as well, we to each other. She actually had a rib problem, which she tried solving for a year and a half, and she could not find any help. And we sorted out in about 3 months. We
Wow.
became very good friends, and that's where my journey into school started. And so I've been with Inventure for 12 years. Been on and off. I took a gap after 5 years to explore another venture. I was program director for a company called life.There,
Right.
where we took physical education to about almost 200 schools across India.
Wow.
And yeah, we had about 680 trainers, and that was really exciting. And then, of course, my boys started growing up. I've got two boys who are 18 and 16 and a half. And I decided, let's go back to school. Uh, there's no greater pleasure than having to train your own children when
Yeah.
it comes to sport. So I said, I want to do this till they graduate for sure. And my sons have turned out to be, great sportsmen. My older son has played basketball with Megan, so
Yes. Yes.
they know each other. My younger son is a football player and a sprinter.
Uh,
And so it's been a fantastic 34 years. I wouldn't change it for anything else.
Absolutely. And I think there is so much, inspiration from your journey itself, like how you overcame your ACL tear and how you have, I think that's what I think sports is all about, that you overcome one hurdle and move on. And then if something else comes along and then, you overcome that also, that's what it is teaching you in life. So great listening to that. And so, like is the tradition with Desk Doodles, we always have a big question, okay, for our expert
Okay.
guest who's there. And today's question to you, Kishen, is sports an enabler of effective education? What do you think?
Um, well, definitely, right? That's a huge question.
That's why I said it's a
But
big question, loaded with lots.
my God, so we could go to 100 different directions with this one.
Correct.
But as an overall, uh, contributor, I would say it's more of a contributor to a person. I wouldn't say child per se. A lot of people, bracket sport, unfortunately, as children or teenagers. Yeah, I just turned 52 and I play football with my senior team.
True.
So I would not say sport just for the child per se, but to anybody, right? It teaches you so many things. The first thing, for children especially, I think the most important thing that sports teaches you, Sapna, is to lose.
Yeah.
You see, we are in an environment which is so focused on success and winning, and you look at anything now, and it is instant. You want that success to happen instantly, and I think sport is the one thing that teaches you that to succeed you need to fail.
Yeah.
One of my favorite examples are Tiger Woods and Roger Federer. Roger Federer, he has, I mean, they both have won the most amount of tournaments in their respective sport, but look at the amount of times they have lost.
Yeah.
I think the ratio is about 8:1 or something like that, and of course Tiger Woods now even more.
Yeah.
But you have to lose to win, and the lessons you lose, sorry, lessons you learn when you lose, especially in sport, are so different than from an academic. You
Correct.
fail a math test, right? And it's psychologically so different from losing a football match or a basketball match, right?
Correct.
So to me, one of the biggest um, you
Lesson.
know enablers, if as you put it, for a child to learn is the ability to lose. And what do you take out of that loss?
Yeah.
How do you stand up, get up, rework whatever you need to work in yourself, in your team, and then how do you move on? I don't think there's anything else out there that teaches you to pick yourself up and move on. That, you know, sport
Absolutely.
does.
Absolutely. And I think what you said is so right that every child learns that and, how to pick yourself, dust yourself, and move on. And you learn it on a very high level when you're playing a sport because the intensity with which it hits you is very hard, right? When you lose a game and when you're there and as a team, if you've missed a goal, how powerful that emotion is. But I think that's from there you can learn that and apply it anywhere in life, whether it is academics, whether it is generally life. So once you've learned that, I think it is so much easier for you to apply it anywhere else.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that's another thing. I think a big one to look at is when I think children who are playing sport, they generally will manage time well because they are balancing their work and sport. They are managing, and they never mind waking up at 5 o'clock to come for a practice, right? And if you want to wake up your child to study at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, it's always a task, right? And they're self motivated to get up in the morning and go for practice.
I think the other big traits that sport teaches you, like you correctly said, right? Discipline is one, perseverance is the other. And one of the things I've seen with our children at here, the ones who actually play sport at a higher level actually do fantastically well in their academics.
Yeah.
You know, they've learned that the discipline that you correctly said, get up in the morning, go. I mean, one of the girls that we have in our school, she just finished grade 12. Her name is Saloni Dalal. She's the reigning 50 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters breaststroke champion of India. That is the open, yeah, and she's been doing this from the time she's about 15 years, right? And she swims about 6, 7 hours a day, swimming, gym, all that stuff.
Right.
Sorry. And she's taken those lessons and put it into her academics. It teaches the discipline of saying, yeah, I need to accomplish this, I need to finish this, and hence I take those traits and move on. And I think the ones, and now this does not apply to every child who plays sport, right? And you would have the segregation. But if all the people, all the children who play sport, and that is why in our school, every from kindergarten to grade 12 play sport.
Yeah.
And if the children realize that they can take those lessons from sport and translate them into other areas of life, you know, it's
Yeah.
so much easier to succeed.
And like I was saying earlier, also, because if they start playing from early on, it becomes a way of life, right? And it is something that you're doing in every day. And it's not only, for sports, you easily apply it to everything else. Talk about problem solving. I mean, children on the field know if a curveball is thrown at them, they know they have to hit it right, hit it back. And they're prepared for everything that is coming their way. And I think that's another thing that children uh, are learning through sports, and it's easier for them to apply in their academics or life in general.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. And from when we talk about sports, I think there are two very different aspects of it, right? One is when we play a team sport and when we play an individual sport. So, what are the benefits of one over the other? Or, let's just talk about the two different aspects of it.
Right. I personally believe every child should play both an individual sport and a team sport, right? Because lessons that you learn in both these arenas are so different in terms of the individual. It would benefit every child, and we encourage that in our programs at school and elsewhere as well. Uh, the reason a child would play an individual sport, I personally believe a child should play an individual sport a little later on in life. There have been tons of debates on this stuff like that. I've even written a couple of articles on this.
Right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
but play sport a little later on in life, they're a lot more mature in terms of knowing how to handle their losses, their disciplines, all that stuff. When a child is smaller, you need to be able to move around and mix around. You need that environment of growing up, like the old saying goes. You need a village to help
Very
a child grow up, right? And
right.
on the sports field, it's more applicable than ever because the village is the whole group of children themselves, you know,
Correct.
and they learn to interact with them each other. They learn to share. They learn to forgive. Forgiveness in sport at that age is something that most parents do not see. You know, to get pushed down in playing, to be able to get up and instantly as a child to move on. And as adults, we find that so difficult. But learning to forgive when you're small is so important. So those skills are the main ones that the child would learn team sport, right? To be able to organize, work with each other. As they grow older, you're looking at things like self motivation. Like you said, if a child is I mean, take Saloni again, she's a swimmer. Trust me when I tell you, my younger son is a 100-meter sprinter. It's so difficult to motivate yourself. A team sport, you get up, you go, your team is there, your friends are there, you play. To get up at 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock, get on the field, there's nobody there. You start doing your warm up. That sort of self-discipline is priceless to learn when you play an individual sport. So I think a child should, play both sport, and they will benefit
I
tremendously from
think
that
absolutely,
experience.
yeah, absolutely bang on there, Kishan. Because when we talk about individual sport, of course, the coach and the athlete interaction is very high, and there is a lot of benefit from that point of view if you see. But also that there is so much on the shoulder of that child who's in the spotlight all the time. So I think if they
Right?
grow up in a team, playing a team sport, they learn because it might be a moment of shining for one child today, and tomorrow it might be for someone else. So I think every child gets their own day to shine, and they kind of learn how to take in defeats and wins, balance that out. And somewhere I feel also that not all children are social, right? They're not, I mean, highly social, if we say. But playing a team sport, I think that social connectedness is so apparent. It just comes naturally. It's like a whole family. Like you said, you have a village, entire village to raise that child there. And I think in these times, especially when we see that children go through a lot of stresses for whatever reasons, and if they have a team which is like a family to them, they have one more support system that they can go to, right?
Right, right.
So,
Absolutely.
and when we talk about sport, I think we talk about physical fitness a lot. I think somewhere there is a hidden angle of mental fitness as well, because I think that's what,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry, I just said absolutely.
yeah,
No, absolutely. I mean, the entire thing about playing sport, while a lot of people look at just as a physical endeavor, mentally it's a fantastic conditioner. I mean, it teaches you, like I said, it teaches you to be happy when you win. It teaches you to be sad. when you lose, how do you cope, mentally when you're depressed about, losing an important match,
Right.
right? And on the physical side, while you play, you have endorphins, etc., etc. And
Right.
yeah, there's so much of research goes. I don't know if you've read this book called Spark by Dr. Ray.
Okay.
Read that book. It's a fantastic book,
Definitely.
and he talks about how being physically active works on the mind. And when our children have exams, one of one of the first things parents and teachers will tell them is, "Don't play a sport. Go sit with your book, study, etc., etc."
Yeah.
And research has actually shown play in those times, your mental interaction with your studies goes up tremendously.
Correct.
So just taking a break and even dribbling a basketball for 5 minutes in between two learning sessions, it really helps the brain. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
It is
I mean,
such a
sports
stress
definitely helps.
buster. Yeah, correct. It is such a stress buster because when children are taking exams or, any time of, when they're mentally stressed, I think just dribbling a ball, like you said, or just throwing a ball around, I think that is such a stress buster for them. And I think then they can get back to focusing on to whatever they were, ready to do.
Doing absolutely,
and i
absolutely.
and somewhere I think there is a very big hidden message there again, that how children deal with adversity, right? Whether it is you're thrown on a field with maybe 6, maybe 12 different people. You might not agree with all of them, right? But you still need to make it work, because if you don't make it work, it's not going to work out for the entire team. So somehow there's
Absolutely.
such a big learning from there for children.
Very true. um, Sapna, the way physical education has actually evolved and sport training is evolved now, is light years different from what we used to do, in school. When I was in school, grade three, grade four, we had one. We had 90 children on the field, 90 children. And as I grew older, and I started my career, and when I used to give seminars and stuff, um, I would describe that interaction. I don't call it a sport or a P period. I would call it an interaction. It was an interaction where children would run back and forth, chasing the child who was good enough to keep the ball. We did not play football, right? So if I was good in football, I had the ball, right? And you would have someone run with me, right? And I'd lose the ball and run back, and that's what kids do. So when people ask me to describe what we did when we were growing up, I said all we did was relay practice, because the kids who are not skilled would go up and down and up and down, and now it has changed tremendously. Schools like Inventure, where we actually have one piece of equipment for every child. So if a child is learning football, we have one football for every child in that 30 or 40 uh, minutes of play,
Right.
and when they're learning their skills. So that helps. So even teaching this, how teaching the sport now has evolved to accommodate those things, right? In terms of how do you accommodate, like you correctly said, if a child is an introvert or is shy, right? They may not be able to get into the team, the others are skilled, etc., etc. But then how does that child benefit from this interaction,
Yeah.
right? So if the methodologies and the pedagogy of teaching physical education,
Yeah.
that has changed worldwide. It has not changed so much in our country yet. I mean, let's be fair. There are strides that are happening, but
We're still not
one of the biggest, yeah, but one of my biggest uh, was when I was lead staff. We do workshops for physical education to about 200 schools all over India, and it was amazing for to see the interactions between the children and the coaches. To see that if you gave a ball to every child, the way the child would interact was so different. Where you had one ball and 30 children, right? So that makes a huge difference. Just having the infrastructure and the methodology of how to teach sport and physical education change the way a child will imbibe those traits from that class and that learning.
Absolutely. And I think in that, one of the most fundamental things to look at is the role of a coach. Because I think, like whatever you talked about, I think the most important thing that came out was the interaction between the child and the coach. So, what exactly, how powerful is that role of the coach in that child's life?
Well, I the favorite. I think I'd be biased to say it is with sport. I know it's with other subjects as well, but I think one of the fondest memories a student will have is the interaction of themselves with their coaches on the football field. And time doesn't make a difference. Time doesn't make a difference. I mean, I got to know your daughter for 2 years. She came in grade 11. She left in grade 12.
Yes,
But I will always have fond memories of Megan practicing. She'll
absolutely.
have the same
She has the same. Yes,
respect
she has the same.
towards us. And the longer you spend time, I have some of my alumni who have passed out about 4 or 5 years now. But with the advantages of technology and Zoom and all those things, your WhatsApp, etc. I'll regularly get a message from them that, hey sir, I twisted my ankle. What do I do? Just I haven't spoken to them for 6 months. I'll get a message there. I twist my ankle. What do I do? That sort of uh, belonging where they can just pick up the phone even after a year and reach out to you and say, you know what, buddy, I twisted my ankle. What can I do? I think that sort of those friendships, those bonds
Yeah,
are they're just very very special. And
yeah,
and a coach can
yeah,
a coach can or you know uh, cannot or rather break the way a child looks at sport. In the olden days, well, not only in the olden days, even now, I know quite a few coaches who are very harsh. I would even go on, so far as to say a lot of them are, well, in our country, verbally abusive,
yes,
right? And I think they miss out the opportunity of knowing that they can make a difference in a child's life. Winning and losing is not everything, and a lot
absolutely.
of coaches miss that. They pressure from school, all that you can understand. But to be able to just pause and say a good word, encourage a child, it makes a world of a difference. So a coach, I mean, they have the unique position as a teacher to be able to influence a child's outlook on life, the child's enjoyment of. You'll always have children who have loved sport and say, I used to play in school, love my coach. Or you'll have the child who say, I used to hate physical education. And if you go and find out why, it is because they had a terrible coach. So to
Yes.
be in such a special, unique opportunity is wonderful. And nowadays, with the entire opening of knowledge,
Yeah.
the personal development of a coach is solely their responsibility.
Yeah.
There is so much of information Sapna out there, you will not believe it. In terms of free courses on Coursera, Australia, here, there, Udemy, you just have to want to be a better person,
Yeah.
and you just have to want to, go out, learn, make yourself better, and you can change a child's life. That's
And
a
I
wonderful
think
position to be in.
that's not only just for for as a coach, but I think that's what the Mamba mentality, right? You push yourself, you better yourself, get to that point where you are the best version of yourself, put in all the hard work. And I think as a coach, you teach that to your child, and he sees you doing that as well. And there is so much more than just the skill and the technique of that game that you're teaching that child. You're teaching that child responsibility, you're teaching that child punctuality, and teaching him how to respect everybody's time. Because when you tell a child or the team to come at 6 o'clock, and everybody needs to be there at 6 because everybody else is waiting to start the game, so you are inculcating so much more. I feel uh, as a coach, you're just not teaching sport, you're like a character guru. You're inculcating so much more than just the technique.
You're teaching life, literally. You're teaching life, literally.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because there is, I think, everything that you learn from sports is so easily applicable in life. It's life skills just taught on the field. That's it, right? And when you're talking about this, I'm sure, Kishen, all your children in school are missing that freedom to just run on that field and,
Oh gosh.
shout and scream and laugh. So, how are you making it work for them now across this digital time?
Well, we've had an interesting journey. So our school has been online from almost, I think, May, if not earlier. So we were I think the first school to shift completely online because our academic cycle is a lot earlier than most schools.
Yeah.
And so we've taken everything in school, academics, beyond academics, sport, completely online. Right now, in terms of sport, we're teaching our children to work on skill. A lot of time you're sitting at home, you have a ball, and you're literally in your dining room. So all we can do right now is teach them skill, which is great,
Yeah.
because one of the things, especially at the school level, if you look, being skillful is the biggest contributor that you can make towards your team. The higher an individual person's skill is, the better the team is. Right?
Absolutely.
It's not so much the team per se, especially at school level. Right? So to have a year in which you can completely sit and focus on skill, in my opinion, is brilliant.
Yes. Yes.
Physical fitness the other thing, right? A lot of times, well, our school has physical education almost every day for most segments of school, except the seniors. We have them about 3 or 4 times a week, which is more than most schools in India.
Oh,
I think
yes.
more than
I
all schools
remember
in India.
I think we just had about two periods of games when we were growing up. And I mean, that excitement used to be something else. That today was my favorite day because I had games. It was like such a,
Absolutely.
you know,
We used to have Bata kids at that time, right? The
right.
white shoes. So I used to always
Absolutely.
look forward to the day where I could wear my white shoes instead of my black shoes,
I know.
right? And yeah, so but on the flip side, the interactions that we just spoke about, etc., those will definitely be missing. But I think as we understand the situation and as we understand the safety aspects, etc., of how we can be cautious
Yeah.
in this environment, in this circumstance we are around the world. I think we will go back.
Yeah.
One of the things all my coaches and I have done is we've done a COVID certification for how you deal with safety on the field. The whole Inventure sports team has done that. But in terms of needing to get back on the field, that definitely is a must.
Yeah.
That is an irreplaceable part of sport. And I think as we understand how to deal with the situation, how to be cautious, etc., but I think by next year, yeah,
Yes.
hopefully we
Hope.
should be able to get back. I think these kids are definitely missing that part of it for
Yeah.
sure.
I think that is the biggest thing everybody is missing. I think anybody who plays sports
Absolutely.
I think on another level because I mean, children who are used to getting up at 6 and going for practices, and now they don't even get that space to practice. So definitely there is a lot of setback on that side. But like you are
Yeah,
saying,
I really sorry to interrupt you, but yeah,
no,
I was really feeling so bad for all the Olympic athletes.
yes,
July 20 was supposed to be the
oh,
Olympics,
right,
and
right,
imagine if you're at the absolute peak of your career, and you don't have that much time,
right,
and this was your last Olympic, and now it's shifted. I don't know if you heard of this, but they definitely on with the Olympic
right,
Games in July 2021, irrespective of the situation.
yes,
But imagine to have lost time. You worked 4 years to build your peak, etc., and then this happens, and now you don't know whether you that peak. It's so devastating. But
absolutely.
it's been a huge setback right across the board for
Yes,
everyone.
I think everybody's still coming to terms with that in their own ways. And I think what you were talking about, one thing I wanted to, ask you was that now sports is just not about just sports, right? There are so many opportunities available to children if they are interested in sports. So can we just
Oh,
talk
absolutely.
about that?
Well, like I said, right? When we were growing up, for us, it was either you become a PD teacher or you become a sports coach,
Yeah.
and getting there was very ambiguous. Uh, the fitness industry started in the early, well, more the late 80s was when health clubs started. I mean, I started my first job when I was 18 in a health club, and there was no entry barrier. You could just walk in if you had a huge bicep, etc. You just got the job. And the funny part is it's still rampant in our country. We don't really have a threshold that you need to cross. Abroad, you have to have a certification before you can get a job. Here, if you just look big and you sound knowledgeable, you can get a job, which is sad because it impacts a lot of how the clients
Yeah.
end up on the other side of that. But in terms of career opportunities, I mean, there's so much a child can do nowadays. You have the regular physical education, you have sports coaching, you have physiotherapy, and there are a lot that have not come into our country. One of my certifications is what is known as the corrective exercise specialist.
Oh,
And that is when you have injured yourself, you have done all your physical therapy, and you
right.
see, then most of the time, doctor gives you a clearance, you go and run back on the field. And before you know it, you're injured again. So
Oh,
there's that gap in between where we call returning to function. That is a huge field. And I think there are not even a handful of us in our country who do to bridge the gap between recovery and function before you get into sport. So corrective exercise specializations will come in. Analytics will come in. One of my alumni, his name is Abhay Rao. He's in the sports field now. He wants to do a workshop in the next couple of weeks on sports analytics. And there are huge opportunities.
right.
We are
And sports
literally on the tip of
psychology,
the
I think.
iceberg.
Sorry. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
was
not a
saying
problem. Go
even
ahead.
with the sports psychology and the sports management, I think those courses are coming up really big with children.
Absolutely. Sports psychology, sports management, and like I said, all these things are just the tip of the iceberg in our country. I mean, think about this. I've been doing this for when I started. I got my first job. My mom, I remember, she turned around and told me, what do you think you're doing? Who is going to pay you for moving your arms and legs? And she did not speak to me for almost 3 years.
Oh
three
my
years she
God. Oh
hardly
my
had
God.
a conversation with me because she was so upset. My brother had gone into learning about computers at that time. Computers just started at that time.
Yeah.
And been 34 years. This is all I do. My wife and me also have a company called Peak Fitness, so we do a lot of consulting for companies. We used to run gyms for Wipro, Microsoft,
Wow.
HCL. We've done workshops for GE, Fidelity, all that. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So a lot of my students now who want to develop a career in sport, I tell them, hey guys, don't be afraid. It is also the perception of the parents. A lot of parents say,
Absolutely.
what are you going to do? You're just going to train sport. How prestigious is that? The prestige side, how well are you going to get paid? But I think that entire scenario in our country is coming up. You now have cricket, of course. Most of our cricketers now are millionaires, right? But that's one select area. But
We
if you
have
look at
IPL
things like
starting tomorrow, I
football,
think. I think we
there
have
you
IPL starting tomorrow.
yes,
Every sport,
and
I think, because of this COVID situation, everybody has kind of started playing it in a different way. All the NBA games,
right.
I think everybody's kind to find a way how to still keep the sports alive. Just like you said, in your school, you're doing it. And I think even outside in the world, people are trying to do that because I think sports is just not about physical fitness. There is so much more to it.
No, it's a way of a human being. You know, if you're human, you will want to move. I mean, that's what we're designed to do. And sport, becomes an integral part of that wanting to move,
Right.
right? So
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Kishan, do you have any of your students, some examples where you saw that the child wanted to do, and like we were talking about, when parents feel that it's kind of holding them back from sports is going to help them in academics and things like that, but the child really was great at sports.
Right. One of the examples I can give you are plenty. I mean, your daughter is one. Your daughter is an example. I wish I'd met her a lot earlier than grade
Absolutely.
11.
Oh, she is.
She's a
I
wonderful
think that's
sports
one of the
person.
reasons we shifted schools because she wanted to balance everything. The sports is, I think, in their blood. It's just you cannot live without it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've had quite a few children in our school who have done that. Two examples I can give you right off the bat is one of our alumni. His name is Shantam. He came, I think, grade 8, and his parents are doctors, and so he always wanted to be a doctor. And then, yeah, as he learned about playing football, and then he became our top sprinter. Island. He's in St. Mary's in Dublin, and he's on the sprint team there. And now he wants to do sports medicine. So he's gone, followed his passion, and he's doing. He's going to become a sports medicine doctor.
Wow.
And we have some very interesting conversations.
Wow.
So that's one example. The other is a child. His name is Arnav Rakit. Uh, uh, Struggled with his academics here and there, but his passion has always been playing football. And right now, actually, he's gone, or I think he's already left, or he's leaving in October. He's actually going to England, and he's joining a school where he'll pursue professional football while he'll continue his academics. He
Wow.
got an invitation from a club in Spain as well. So quite a few kids now are following their dreams. To me, it's heartening that a lot of parents now
Yeah.
have started believing in their children. It's to me, sport you get in sport is never about yourself. It's about what your parents think. I can give you so many examples, I being one of them, but I can give you so many examples of friends of mine who would have been brilliant sports people had their parents, just had the vision to say, okay, you have my support, you have my backing, let's get this done.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest thing that's changing is the mentality of the parents, that the belief they have in their children, knowing they have the opportunities, you've got to be realistic about that.
Right.
But I think that environment now is changing, and a lot more children are happier
And
because
I
of that,
think
for
also
sure.
what you said earlier on about coaches, and see when you talk about the parents, helping the children move forward in that field, and somewhere I feel if you have a coach who really understands your strengths and your weaknesses and can guide you best in, he can tell you best whether you can really move forward in that or you want to do something else. And I think that faith that children have in their coach also can play a big part in them
Huge,
choosing.
absolutely huge. I mean, most of the time it's the coach who the parent will come to,
Yeah.
and say, do you think my child will make this? As you can see, my child is really interested in basketball or football or badminton, and I want them to be the next. The flip side is they want them to be the next Saina Nehwal, the next Sachin Tendulkar, Lionel Messi. But
Yeah.
but they'll come to the coach and say, and it's always the coach having the faith in the child that will lead to the parents going there. But it's also the opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
To be able to now want to play. I mean, when we played football, when we played a match, per match we'd get at that time we got 20 rupees per match, and for us 20 rupees was okay. Your bus journey is meal
Done.
and you come back and we're happy. And now our top footballers are getting 1 crore, 1.5 crore, which is fantastic. Which is
Yeah.
fantastic. Look at the way ladies football is developed, you
Yeah.
know so those opportunities of girls who would never have had an opportunity to play a sport especially in the rural areas, etc. I think those opportunities are opening up, and in my opinion, in the next 15, 20 years, our country is definitely going to go up on that in that direction, and that will make a huge difference to our Olympic tally. We'll just not have to wait for 1 or 2 gold all the time.
Absolutely. And I think on that positive note, Kishan, I want you to give a message to our young viewers who are listening and watching, and to the parents as well. A short message. What would you like to say to them?
Well, this this is actually from one of my mentors. His name is Gray Cook. He's a brilliant gentleman. He's runs an institute called Functional Movement Screen, and I've been certified. Never met him, of course, but read all his books, etc. He's an inspiration. And in all this thing of wanting to get fitter and run more, etc., we miss out on this crucial thing, which is first move well, then move often.
Oh,
We are in a hurry to move and run and all that. If you look at the running craze that came into our country about five, six
yes,
years back, right? Everyone wants to run a 5K and a 10K and etc. And I get at least 10 phone calls a week, or messages from the web saying that I started running, my knee is gone, my back is gone, etc. They're not ready to run. You first have to be, invest in yourself, ensure that you have the capability of doing things before you actually do those things, right? So
right,
first, you know, move well. That's important. Make sure you can move properly. Are your hips in alignment, your back, etc., etc. Once you've got all those, move often. Otherwise, you're just going to pay the price later on, and
right,
and the rest of your life you're going to be miserable. So
right.
that would be my thing to every population: move well and then move often.
Absolutely wonderful. And what about our little kids who are still at home and they're just happy just to see Sir across the screen?
Oh, well, I mean, we have our classes regularly. In
Right,
fact, we are right now on a 1 week break. But once this break starts off on Monday, I'm actually going to do a movement workshop starting from the senior grade. And our younger children have been doing challenges and all that. So kids are having fun. Kids are definitely engaged
good,
in having fun for sure.
good, good. Very, very happy to hear that the children are still having fun in whatever way they can. And it was amazing talking to you, Kishen. And I think one important thing I can add to all the wonderful things that you said, I think that every child needs to grow up with sports in his life. Sports is never a distraction. I think sports is one of the biggest tools that teaches the children the art of focusing, time management, problem solving. So something that teaches so many life skills can never be something that is a distraction. So let's keep our children playing team sport or individual sport, and happy playing.
Thank you so much,
Thank,
Sapna. It was
thank
an
you,
absolute
Kishan. It was
pleasure,
amazing.
pleasure being
Thank
here.
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Next time.
Talk to you.